Welcome back to Relationship Wednesday, Life and Style on your favorite TV station, KTN. I am your host, Chris JTM, and we are on Talk to Pastor Chris, coming to you from the Panari Hotel at the Ruby VIP Lounge. You could come over here with your friends, your colleagues, your business partners, have some time out. You know, you want to do business, you want to just hang out, you want to catch up, or you just want to have fun with your family. This is a good place for you to come to. Well, today we've got a very interesting topic, and that is the place of money in relationships. All right, what's the place of money in a relationship?
Nowadays, it's like you're buying somebody, you don't trust each other.
If a guy sees you're able to stick with him even if he doesn't have money, if a guy sees you're able to stick with him even when he has hardships, I believe a guy in any sound mind will stick with you.
Money is not everything, actually, first and foremost. I do agree that it is a very, very crucial part of the current world, but I don't think it should be the first thing that should be, considered in a relationship.
For the man, of course, he's the provider of the home, and yes, it is much more important to him.
The way I see money is essentially a medium of exchange.
All right.
It is, we use money to exchange and to assign value to the things that we buy and use and need. And so it is. And so when people get into a relationship, people usually get very excited getting into a relationship.
Right.
And then they find that they will need money, they will need items, they will need to live somewhere, they will need to spend. So because of that, money does have a place in the relationship. But I only see it only as a medium of exchange, a servant of those people who are in the relationship.
Yours is something, Lucy.
Yes, money is up there with oxygen, okay? And before you enter a relationship,
Yeah.
all right, make sure you are in that process, or you are already accumulating money, acquiring it. Because let's face it, say you're in a relationship today, or even in a marriage, or first of all, I'm very single, so say I'm going out there and I want to go on a date.
You need to get her number. Just inbox me. You know, she's very single. Just inbox me. I may help you.
Wow.
All right.
So say I need to get to Panari, for example, for dinner. How will I get here if I do not have the means to get here? Perhaps the dinner, it needs to be paid. Sometimes in our African culture, we automatically assume that the gentleman will pay for the dinner, which actually there's nothing wrong with that. But say, for example, in the event where I too need to pay for it, see, I need to have the money. So money is up there with oxygen. As a matter of fact, maybe you shouldn't even be going into a relationship if you don't have a little bit of money, because then even airtime, how will you call them or text them if you can't put aside, some amount of money? So it's very important in a relationship.
Are you saying that broke people should not get into relationships?
I totally agree. You need to go out there and make money and everything, but I don't think if you don't necessarily have money, because it is a very relative thing. How much money do you have? Again, because
What about the people who don't have money? Because you're also bringing up the issue of it's relative because of how many people, or rather how much money
yes,
somebody
because
has.
you want to go to Panari, probably I can only afford a kibanda. Then what happens?
Okay. But what is the place of money, literally? Whether somebody has or doesn't have, what is the place of money in a relationship? Because I'm aware that there are relationships that are broken based on either the lack or the presence of money.
My opinion is that one, finances are a very play a very major role in relationships, and they cause breakages even in marriage. Because once you start talking about money, then someone clutches their wallet, like, hey, now you want to.
So,
you want my money.
is very important.
It is very important.
But Timothy, you said something else. You didn't seem to feel like money is a very huge part of it.
It's because there are many ingredients in a relationship. And so I see money as one of the ingredients in a relationship. In other words, two people get in love, they are in a relationship, and they ask one another, where are we going? So they are going to look at many different aspects, many different facets of their lives, and they are going to ask, where are we going with regard to this? And many of them may as well involve money. So for instance, people are planning to get married. When people get in love, the first thing that comes is a wedding. They want to get married, and that costs. Then they are going to be asking, where shall we live? They're going to be asking, once we have children, where will they take them to school? What is our lifestyle? Where shall we live? What shall we do? How shall we spend money? How will we travel? So I say it's a key ingredient in a relationship. I might not put it as Lucy, up there with oxygen, but it is definitely a key component.
Let's talk about ingredients, because you brought in the analogy of cooking. There are certain ingredients that are in a higher measure in a meal than others. Isn't money one of those that, even if it is an ingredient, it is those ones that, it's high up there, like Lucy would say, it's high up there with oxygen?
It is definitely key. It is important. But you look at other things as well. How are people growing? You look at how are they growing physically? How are they growing emotionally? How are they growing socially and with family and friends? How are they growing in terms of their mental development? So there are all those things. And as I said, it may well be that money funds a lot of
I was just about to bring that to Lucy, right?
Yet,
that money would determine a lot of those.
Absolutely. I mean, in reality, if we're looking at physical well-being, in order to afford a gym or to go to hospital or to buy good quality food, you'll need to have money. In order to, have all the things that you also talked about, maybe just to go back just a little bit, about when you come into a relationship and you plan now the wedding, the travel, the home, you should already be doing these things even long before, you get into this relationship. And another thing that I actually want to just point out, if you're planning on getting married, please don't call your friends and family, tell them to changa for you, because come on now, you're living with this person by yourself. Sort your finances. In fact, the first thing that any human being should be, we live in an economic planet. That's the reality. We are in an economic planet. Everything is sort of, even when we go to church, we would love to tithe with money, isn't it?
Amen to that.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Pastor Chris. So in a relationship, where does it stand? I think it's very, very important. And in the case where you'll find that marriages or relationships have broken because of lack of, or too much of, or sudden surplus or increase that you are not already prepared, I think then it is dependent on you as an individual. What steps you're taking while you are in the stage that you are in, with or without the money, to grow yourself in order for your your financial lid, the ceiling, the roof to grow, in order for it to expand. Because say you've never really come across $500,000 and today you come across it, maybe lotto, right? And then you don't know what to do.
I don't advise you to be hoping that you're going to, you work hard. I'm not advising you to be hoping that you're going to strike some lotto somewhere. But yeah, but maybe you get the money from lotto, right?
Yes, perhaps you get it from there. And you had not, as an individual, you are not the kind of person that's really capable of kind of managing this kind of funds, right? With or without the relationship. First of all, individually, what are you going to do? You obviously squander it all over.
All right. Sorry, Lucy, but I want to bring out this then. If money is this important, why is it a difficult conversation in most relationships?
If I may respond, I think we are all brought up in different lifestyles. We all have different spending patterns, okay? You will find that some things that are important to me in a family setting are not necessarily that important to someone else. Probably the kind of investments I'm making might not be, and you will find that is where sometimes conflict comes in. So
I would understand the part of conflict. What I'm not getting is why people find it difficult to have conversations around money. Why is there so much suspicion when money comes up? For example, Lucy talked about maybe if there's a date, when people are coming onto a date, they both know there's going to be some bills to be paid, they want to do something, they both know. In a lot of cases, rarely do people talk about who's going to do what, because it's so sensitive. So if I may rephrase my statement, why is money so sensitive?
Okay, what you just said, I had her say that, and I was like, okay, yes, we all know that we are going for a date and there's money going to be spent. We all know some ratio is coming. It's the man coming to pay in literal sense. It's not like we are just sitting down and
Is that
discuss.
very obvious?
No, it is very obvious. It is the man taking money to your family. I'm the one who's funding the wedding. I am the one who's paying school fees, not necessarily me. And
Yeah, I
and it's
understand,
okay.
but is that very obvious? Is it as obvious as you're
It is-
putting it?
in our social surroundings, especially here in Kenya, yes, it is very obvious. You
Do you
go for a
agree
date.
with that,
If a man doesn't pay for the date, hey, what kind of a man is that?
Timothy.
I think money becomes a difficult conversation because of the value that we attach to it.
All right.
If certainly it is the most important thing in my life, then I'm going to assign a place to it, and my money then is going to be very important. I cannot talk about it. But I would like to say, yes, money causes strains to relationships, but even when it does, sometimes it is over other issues in that relationships.
Okay.
So, for instance, if it is communication, communicating about money. If someone is not a good communicator, then he's not going to communicate well about money. And money, that conversation about money will bring up the crisis that was going to happen anyway. So I think it is what we assign to money.
All right.
If I am in this life to earn money, if I am getting married to get more money, if I am making all my decisions.
And there are people who do that, right?
Absolutely. If I am doing all this in order to get money,
Right.
then it is so important to me. The person I get married to is a money generator.
I love that you brought up that, because you see, even the point that Dan is trying to make, that it is obvious that men will take care of the bills and the ratio, there are also men who get married to get more money. There are men who do that, right? Yeah, especially there's contemporary society. There are men who get married. They look at a lady like Lucy, then they think, oh, well, she looks like she's doing very well. And so if I can connect with her, you know, when women fall in love, their purse is not closed. Their purse is not as closed as men, you know. A man will be very calculative of whether he's spending the money and what he'll get back out of that. But when a woman falls in love, she will give. And there are men also who are looking for women who can help them to grow financially. Yeah?
And, you know, I had this story, Pastor, of a lady who stood at Yaya Center and said, I would not, she told her fiancé, I don't want to live 3 kilometers, outside 3 kilometers of radius from Yaya Center. And then she prescribed the CC of the car. I don't want any car below this CC. And I don't want my children to go to a school below this category. Now, what does that say? It's probably her expectations and what she grew up with and her notions about a standard of living and wealth and where she belongs. And then, obviously, what happened was, and then she said, all these things my husband should provide. So,
well, I want to give it up to her because she was very honest.
That's right.
From the onset, yeah, yeah.
I'd like to add something onto this. One thing that we need to observe is that when it comes to relationships and then you're using that relationship in order to acquire money, then definitely you have your priorities all wrong. They're a human being just like you are, and whatever you are capable of doing, they are capable of doing too. Now, to the question that Pastor asked, why is it that we are so afraid of discussing money and money matters in the society or in relationships, in marriages? And one of the reasons is because of, you know, our core values, the systems, the beliefs that we ourselves as individuals have about money, which is either as a result of the environment when we're growing up. You know, sometimes you will, even a mindset of the rich, you know, they acquire their money in a particular way, then you suddenly have a negative attitude towards acquiring money, or then you start to think of the poor in a particular way. So those mindsets are affecting your capability of even raising your own standard or level of income. So one of the things is that our culture, our community, our upbringing has put a way of thinking in our minds regarding money such that we look at it as if it's the root of all evil, when in reality it's the lack of it,
You know,
or even the love of it.
you brought up the issue of culture, and then I'm just thinking, in most of the communities, in this country, men were taught, or young boys growing up, and men were taught, and they hear that even from their peers, you know, not to be very open with money when it comes to relationships. Like, the woman shouldn't know everything about money. Is that what you meant, Timothy, that there's a certain value that we have put to, because if I'm living with this person, I've literally committed my life to them. But then I feel like when it comes to money, money is actually more sacred than my own life. Like, I would rather she kills me in the bed over there where I'm very vulnerable, but I hide away my money.
That's right. I think the value that we assign to money and what it means to us. But in terms of this conversation, I think life is dynamic. And sometimes we go into friendships and relationships with certain expectations. There is the realistic expectation that may not be met. But then there are situations that come down the road that we did not anticipate or even plan for. For instance, people may be in a relationship and they are doing very well, and one person falls sick. There is a sickness in the family, or there is joblessness. Now, when that time comes, will a person be open enough to say, sweetheart, I used to provide this and this and that. I am afraid that for now, we have to cut down on the budget. We will have to find ways of coping. If one is honest enough to say, I think I'm being laid off next month, and therefore, can we plan in such a way that we can cope, that we can afford? I think we go back to communication and openness and honesty in the relationship so that people begin. And the place to learn is not when people are married. Incidentally, when people are single and courting, the girl has more bargaining power. Generally speaking, in terms of money and power, it gets reversed somehow when many people get married, and men seem to take leadership of certain core areas like the money. So the place to negotiate is before they get together.
Okay, I'll come back to that because I'll bring up that issue again where you're talking about where there's the shift of power. But Dan, don't you think that there is a lot of expectation on individuals? Your parents have taken you to school. They drummed it in your head that you're going to school so that you get a good job, so that you get money. And so even when there are situations that are changing, like the ones that Timothy is talking about, then there is a strain. And so you are the burden carrier, and your spouse probably is not working. They're over there. Maybe there was an accident, there was something, so you get to cut down, then you're paying and paying and paying. That strain, don't you think it will affect the relationship, however genuine it is?
It definitely does affect the relationship, especially when, and it is the case in most instances where you have the man in the relationship taking care of everything. And
it could even be the woman. I was just using that
okay,
as, yeah.
Rarely the woman. Because now there's a discussion.
Oh, well, I'll leave it.
There's a discussion now for the woman who supports the man who does not go to work. Then there's that debate.
It's not now.
Yes, it's not now. Yes,
it's been there.
Yes,
I'll tell you the truth.
But there's no such debate for the man who supports the woman who never goes to work. There's no such. It's expected.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
So
but the case is this, that even whichever the case, what I was trying to bring out, because Timothy said there's certain changing circumstances that can come in. And what I was trying to bring out is, won't that strain the relationship? Whether it is the man or the woman who's taking care of this. If for example, my wife used to earn something and bring something in, and then she's incapacitated in a way, we were already living in a certain way, a certain standard, a certain area or location. We were spending at a certain level. And then either to maintain that, now I'm going to do it alone, or we have to lower our standards. Don't you think in a way it's going to strain?
Yes, it definitely affects the way the relationship goes, because money in itself is a form of power. It is a god. It has its own strength. The person with the person with more money definitely has more influence. in our society, it does not matter whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in religion or in anything. If you have more money, you're somewhat respected more than the person who does not have money. So in a relationship where you find it's only one person taking care of everything else, whether they have more money or whether the other person is unable to take care of anything, what happens is this person starts feeling like, okay, now since I have everything in place, they feel like they are in control. And
that's one aspect, right?
yes, one aspect is that they feel that and now you get entitled. Then you expect certain things, and if they are not met, then you start feeling like, hey, I'm taking care of everything now. Why? You become entitled.
All right. That's one aspect where then somebody can become nearly abusive because they feel they bring in everything. Sometimes you hear, especially men, sometimes you hear men saying, you know, she doesn't bring in anything. I bring in everything. So it changes how they view each other. The other aspect could be that somebody feels drained, right? They feel like, you know, they don't even feel like they're above the other person. They're just feeling like they're being stretched completely. How does that sit in a relationship?
Well, first off, if it's going to be a relationship where it's exclusively one person who is really providing for the family, then it needs to be a team effort. We need to be on the same page, on the same team, working towards the same goals. You can be, a support system, or you can be really the backbone to your husband or to your wife's endeavors in provision of the family by really, when they come home, you're doing something or you're asking questions, you can help out with the papers. There are certain ways that you can obviously play a role in order to help them go faster. As Nelson Mandela says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go very far, go with others. So now this is teamwork. We are on the same team. We are on the same. First of all, if you're in a relationship and you're not on the same page regarding your finances, then one is always going to be draining the other. This one wants to go on vacation and buy new things and do all these things, and this other one wants to invest and maybe grow themselves and all this kind of thing. Then you're on two different pages. Work and strive to get each other on the same page and work towards the same goal, right? And then the other thing that you mentioned, I think I wanted to disagree a little bit, regarding, what was it that you were talking about?
Were the people who are, when the ladies are taking care of the man?
Yes, when the ladies are taking care of the man, you'll find that, first of all, I disagree with this, okay? If you're a man out there and the lady is taking care of you, please do something, all right? Anything. Show up, drop her off. Pick up clean up the house or something. Just don't be there waiting and just, receiving and chilling on the couch. That's very, very frustrating, actually.
Okay, let me just shift it a little bit, Timothy. In the case where two people are married, how are they supposed to make their financial decisions?
I approach it this way. There are certain fundamental principles of living, whether in a marriage, for instance, or in a relationship. And those same principles come into their way of spending money and dealing with money. When we talk about communication, when we talk about openness, when we talk about sharing, when we talk about integrity, all those come in the area of money as well. So that money is not a particular area that is not affected by these cross-cutting principles of living. So it is this sharing, it is this communication. Primarily, it will be when people start dating, they will talk about when we go out, who pays, right? How do we pay? How do we meet our expenses? Are we spending too much on our dates? Are we spending too little? Are we being stingy with one another? When they discuss these things, now they begin to forge common understanding about money. Then there is the issue of budgeting, where people sit together and say, this is the amount of money we have in a month, this is the amount of money we have in a year. How shall we spend it?
Let me just move to
yes.
Lucy
yes.
over there. This element that Timothy is bringing in, You bring in your money, your husband brings in the money, and then you talk about it. You think that works for your generation?
Well, I just want you all to understand that in our generation, what is my money is my money, and what is your money is our money. All right? Yes. So now that that's very clear, when we're discussing our money, which is your money, I'm just kidding though, but when we're discussing, absolutely, it can work. You see, it also depends on these two people, especially in our generation, XYZ, these two people, where are they mentally? Who are they? What are they working towards? What is it that they're actually planning for themselves in the next couple of years? Are they growing together? And if they are, then what is it that they actually want to do right now? And then they can allocate their various resources accordingly. So, and that's irrespective of whether we are putting ours both together or individually, because you need to also have your own individual space with your own income put aside. And then now we can obviously share when it comes to these other things. But yes, in our generation, I feel like we always find it hard. I do have friends, and you know, whenever we perhaps get together or we decide that we're going to interact and maybe go out or something, yes, we have this mindset that it's the man who should be providing everything and all those kinds of, and it's the reality.
It's the reality.
It
Okay.
is.
We just well, we just have about a minute or two. But Dan, do you believe that there's anything like 50-50 when it comes to money in a relationship? 50-50, like we share the bills. 50-50?
I don't believe there's anything like 50-50.
All right.
What I believe is that in a relationship, whether married or not, is that you come up with a structure that works for the two of you. For some people, you bring all the money together, then allocate different facets of your life, then the rest you either go on a vacation or anything. And for some people, you keep your money, I keep my money, then when we have something we're doing together, so you just need to find out what works for you. But it can never be 50-50.
Okay, in a minute, Timothy, just to close. If I am in this relationship and I feel like I bring in 70%, the other person brings in 30%, don't you think that if that's not handled right, I may be feeling like, you know, I'm being taken advantage of? Just naturally, because I'm feeling I'm working hard. I brought in 70,000, my partner brought in 30,000, then we are taking care of all the bills, then I remain like I don't work, like I don't have any money at all. Do you think then I should bring 30,000, then they bring in 30,000, then I keep my 40?
I do not think so. I think there is there's a sharing in that kind of a married relationship, so that people bring their resources and they say, this is what we want to do with it. And they can also discuss, how can we raise our resources? For instance, this person who is bringing in 30, is it the best that they can do? Are they completely equipped to earn? Is this the maximum that they can reach? I think it is possible to say, how do we increase their income? And that's what budgeting does. When people budget, they come and say, we're running short, so how do we raise more?
Some people are not good at budgeting, right?
It's true, absolutely.
Some people are not good at budgeting, right?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I agree with you. And maybe just to also add on to what he says, that the ratios as to how you share these, you know, costs at home or in a relationship or in a marriage, you know, they'll go changing with time. I feel like they will change with time. And yes, sometimes they will flip over and the wife, the lady, the girlfriend may have to chip in a little bit more. But always, if it comes through an understanding and communication, like he said, it definitely, we can reach a mutual ground where, you know, we can tolerate or keep up with it for a certain time until we can, you know, move on as we continue to grow. But as far as budgeting is concerned, oh my goodness, it's such a serious topic, because, you know, we get income coming in. If it's surplus income, we've not yet understood how to save, how to put that money away, how to invest it, how to maybe invest it in ourselves. Like, that part is still needy, it's still wanting, and it takes individual effort. It takes that will and I don't know, maybe even an external force to come in for you to start doing it.
All right, and that's why we are here now. If there is that 70 and 30% arrangement, Timothy said that, you know, you could talk about ways of improving the income of the person who is at the 30%. Some people, I do know that there are people who get very comfortable because their partner brings in the larger share, so they don't feel motivated to increase their own finances because they already think, look, in any case, the other person will bring in the 70% and I will bring in just the 30. Money is a conversation that you must have. You need to get to understand the real feelings of your partner concerning money, because sometimes people bring in even the larger percentage, but they feel they're being taken advantage of. They feel that the other person is not doing so much, so they begin to get demotivated. Whichever way that you are handling your money, whether you are sharing, whether one person is taking care of all the bills, whichever way, it's a conversation that you've got to have. That's all the time we have had today on Talk to Pastor Chris, Talking Money Matters. Well, my style story is coming up, but remember to follow us at KTN_Life_Style for both Twitter, Instagram, KTN Life and Style on Facebook. Keep it right here. Don't go anywhere.